Hello, so I am the race director Rennie Borg, and I'm just going to give you a very quick run through of the email you have just received on the race day details for the Lap of the Gap Marathon and the Glen to Glen Half Marathon, to take place on the 21st of May 2022. So if you're listening to this, you should be registered already. The final registrations will close on the 30th of April. And from then on, we won't be accepting any more new registrations. So the first email that we send out just wants to cover what you need to know in order to make sure that you arrive at the race at the right time, that you know what you need to have with you, that you know what you need to do in the morning in terms of parking and check-in so that you can get to your start lines in time, and so that you're aware of the start times. So there's a lot of other details that we're going to cover in a secondary email that will come out in about 2 weeks time. And in that, we will cover all of the specific details, so where exactly is everything going to be with pins and so on? What about certain details like drop bags? When do you get your medal and your t-shirt? What sort of spread will there be after the race? Where will the water stations be? Now, a lot of these details are already available on worldmarathons.com on our event page, so you can refer to them as we know them there. But we will go through the confirmed and very latest information in relation to all that in the final update email and in the final live briefing. But for us today, we just want to make absolutely sure you know exactly what you need to do for the basics, which is to arrive at your start line in good time with your race number on and fully checked in and ready to go. So basically, there's four things just to be aware of. First of all, we call this a race day checklist. The first is to do a pre-race check-in before the 1st of May. So this is something new, and it's something we felt we had to do this year because we are carrying over quite a lot of participants from the cancelled editions in 2020 and 2021. And one thing we've seen in this industry is that there's quite a lot of people that register in these earlier events that don't show up on race day. And that means it can be quite unpredictable for all organizers to know the exact numbers. And that obviously has quite a big effect on how you organize in the morning. So in order to help us help you and make the race day morning and the rest of the day as smooth and pleasurable as possible, we want you to just take a moment to fill out that form, confirm that you are attending the event, and also provide us your latest and current address, because some of you will have registered quite some time ago. And this year we are sending out all the race bibs in advance. And that means just to minimize the risk that you provided us, a wrong or an outdated address. Just take the time to fill that in. There's a few other details we're asking for. Some of the questions are not mandatory. That's just to help us so you can see which are mandatory and which are not. But we would really appreciate if you had a chance to give us this information, which includes, are you planning to arrive on the day or the day before? That helps us to understand, how many people will be picking up, how many people from abroad, from outside Europe, will be picking up bibs on Friday, for instance. And on race morning, do you plan to park yourself close to the start lines, or do you plan to park closer to the finish line and take our buses down? So again, that'll help us just understand, what sort of volume of people do we need to actually get into the buses. So usually that's easy for us, but just because of the situation of the last few years, it's a little bit harder to predict. And we just want to make absolutely sure that we have the right number of buses in place, and that we have a good understanding, of what sort of volume of people will be arriving through check-in in the morning. So once you've filled out this pre-race check-in form, then you need to ensure you have your bib before race day. And now, if you are a European resident, then it will be shipped out to you in advance of the race. Now, there can always be a risk that some bib or other doesn't arrive for various reasons. So if prior to race day you haven't received your bib, you should go to pre-race bib pickup either Friday evening between 6 and 8 p.m. or Saturday morning, where there will be an opportunity to get a replacement bib or to pick up your bib if you are a non-European resident, because we don't ship the bibs outside of Europe. So you can avail of the same two time slots, 6 to 8 p.m. Friday evening, which is what we recommend, to keep your morning as stress-free as possible. Or at the check-in at Glendalough Hotel in the morning Saturday, where you will be able to do that from an hour before your race begins to 20 minutes before. Okay, you shouldn't leave it more than 20 minutes because then there's a real risk that you won't get to the start line in time. But there you'll be able to get either a replacement bib or your bib if you are a non-European resident who hasn't had it shipped. Next, once that is done, you should basically look to the race day check-in process. So we've tried to automate that this year. So most of you will arrive with your bib on your chest. The chip will be in there as well. At the Glendalough Hotel, which is the nominated check-in spot, we will have a few crew members who will help with manual check-in, but we will also have automatic check-in at all the entry spots. So when you're on the way down to the start lines, you will pass these mats, and the mats will automatically enter you and check you into the race. And that's for your own safety, of course, because it means we know that this person is in the race. And that will hopefully keep a nice smooth flow in the morning so that we won't have hundreds of people queuing up with a person, with a check-in on the phone. So that is the next step. And the final step is to plan your trip to the start line. So one thing that's unique about our race, given it's the kind of very scenic big start line we have in the national park, is that we have a bit of a gap between the finish line and the start lines. So the start line for the marathon is 2.5 kilometers from the finish line, and the start line for the half marathon is just under 3 kilometers from the start line. So in the morning, you have multiple options. You can park close to the finish line, which is a lot of people's preferred choice. There will be free parking available on the other side of the road. And there is also some public parking available in Lara, but it's quite limited. So you'll probably follow the race parking signs if you want to go with this option. If you go with that option, leave yourself plenty of time, because in the morning, you will come in, you will park, and then you have to make your way to the check-in at Glendalough Hotel. And this can be done in two ways. You can go on foot, or you can take the bus that'll be running back and forth all morning. If you do that, it's a 5-minute bus journey, and that means the last bus that you need to be on should be no more than 30 minutes before race starts. So if you're in the marathon, you should take a bus no later than 7:30. Then you still have 25 minutes once you get to the Glendalough Hotel to cover the final 800 meters on foot. If you're in the half marathon, which starts at 8 a.m., you should take the last bus at 7:30. And that will leave you about 25 minutes to go check in at the Glendalough Hotel and then go the 1,200 meters down to the start line near the Upper Lake Park. So there's no vehicle access to the final 8 and 1,200 meters where the start lines are. So the closest you can park or be dropped off, if you don't want to park at the finish line, is at the Glendalough Hotel, and next to it there's another large car park called the Glendalough Visitor Center car park. Now, all this information will be provided as well in the links, with the little tag locations, so you can have a look. Just note that there is pay parking at the Glendalough Hotel and the Visitor Center. It's €4 in the Visitor Center and €5 in the Glendalough Hotel. Once again, there's very limited parking there on the road, which we would not recommend taking up, and we wouldn't be banking on it either. So those are your two basic options. You can park in Lara close to the start line and take the bus down. Then you just need leave a bit of extra time, or you can park or be dropped off at the Glendalough Hotel, and then you have only the final 8 and 1,200 meters on foot. Now, what a few people do every year is they park in Lara and they make the whole way they go the whole way on foot, as a longer warm-up, which is especially a good option for the half marathon, of course. You can get in a nice, easy 3K jog there, and when you finish, you're very close to your car and you don't have to worry much about parking in the morning. So they are the basic options, and that's really all you need to know for now. So as I said, we will cover further details in about 3 weeks' time in the final briefing email, where we will go into, the water stations, what is it going to be like out on the course, how are the markers, etc. What sort of support is there? What do I do if I have to retire? All these questions that you'll hopefully have. So that's the first update. And if you want to just double check that you got everything right, everything I just said should be covered in the email as well. But first thing to do is, if you're planning on attending this year's event, make sure you do the pre-race check-in. If you can't attend, you can avail of the option of a name change. That means you sell your ticket yourself to a friend and you ask us to change their details, or you can get a transfer to the 2023 event. Okay, so there's the two options that you have. So we look forward to seeing you. And on that note, we're going to end this stream, and we will speak to you in 2 to 3 weeks' time.